knit our hearts together, brother.
Amen.
I know. And some of you, I think most everybody here knows Derrick and Nina. Derrick is a revivalist, songwriter, a movie producer, and movie writer.
This is son.
On and on, but yeah, rather than take up the rest of the hour, we'll just introduce him as Derrick Gates. And can we welcome him, please?
Come on. Hallelujah. Glory to God. You know, yeah, I love coming here. I love Kim and the whole family. And Modesto, the reality was my wife and I had really considered moving here to Modesto. We really, and it wasn't because of Modesto. It wasn't special about, there wasn't anything as the city that would draw us here. But the people here are absolutely amazing. And there's just so many people here that we love. And even Sandra Olson tried to convince me, well, this is the LA. This is the LA of the Central Valley. And,
All right.
And she was really trying to sell it. But,
That's a stretch.
we spend most of our time, it might be a stretch. We spend most of our time, in either Los Angeles or Texas, and then the rest of the time we're traveling. As a matter of fact, last year we traveled over 300 days. Just preaching the gospel, loving on people, seeing people set free, and really seeing what God wants to do with our nation and with the body of Christ. How many of you understand and see that God is making some changes? There's some real moving and shaking up, and some things happening. Let me tell you something, anything that can be shaken will be shaken. Hallelujah. And I say let it all shake out. Speaking of Elvis. And
Jailhouse Rock.
I didn't do that. Nobody saw me do that. Never talk about me doing that.
Try.
I'm actually a massive Elvis fan. That's the only reason I know about the fact that he would fly for a fried banana and peanut butter sandwich. He really loved the Lord. You guys know that? Yeah, that's not an act.
Yeah.
Elvis really did love the Lord, and I know people that knew Elvis personally. I've even met people that were in his bands and different things. And funny enough, I even actually have a friend of mine in Missouri. I don't know what the socially acceptable terminology is nowadays, because that changes from day to day on everything, on what you can and can't say anymore. But I'm not trying to be offensive. What's the name? Little person? Is that the it now?
Yeah.
Okay, so you just don't know. All of a sudden I'll get hate mail and everything else. But he's an Elvis impersonator. And Elvis's wife said at one point, she said, if I close my eyes, you sound the most like my husband that I've ever heard. And so anyway, I don't know. That was just a side story. I'm a storyteller. The movie, I think since I've been here, the movie came out, right? I don't think I've been here since the movie came out. It came out July 25th let me take that back, it's not out. We had the movie premiere. And even since the premiere, July 25th, the movie's changed. Literally after the premiere, we did some extra interviews the last minute. We took some interviews out that really didn't hold the value, because you're telling a story.
Yeah.
And you have to use the most dynamic pieces that you have to make the story make the most sense and make the best story at the end. And so we took some things out that we realized, seeing it on the big screen. It's different when you see your own thing on the big screen, by the way. I'm sitting in the front row, I'm like, is this happening right now? Is this really happening? I never would have thought 3 years ago that I'd be watching a movie that my wife and I made on the big screen. And but when you're seeing it, you're like, that really, it doesn't add to the story, and there's just better things. And even after the premiere, we actually added Scott Winters, and probably none of you know who Scott Winters is. But Scott Winters is a Hollywood actor. He was in Good Will Hunting. He was in People versus Larry Flint, which nobody here should ever watch that movie.
He's
It's,
currently on City on a Hill on.
yeah, he's on Showtime on a show. He's been on CSI and Dexter and all kinds of different shows. Now, as soon as I tell you who his brother is, you'll be like, oh yeah. Even though his brother's been in less movies than him, less TV shows, but his brother is the Mayhem guy off the insurance commercials.
Oh,
Like the tree, he falls on your car like a tree. I'm Mayhem. That's his brother.
oh my.
Now the cool thing is his brother was raised from the dead. That was really cool, and is a sold out Christian. Scott raised a guy from the dead on the streets in New York. Do what?
All four brothers.
Yeah, all four of them. They're four brothers, and they're all Christians. And my relationship with him sparked from the movie premiere. He showed up to the movie premiere and just sparked this amazing relationship. Now, I remember the last time I was in here, I talked about how God was calling me into Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of getting the steam behind it, what that really meant. And I still don't know exactly what it means, but I'm just going. I'm just kind of blindly walking into it saying, okay, God, here I am. And I said, and everybody's like, well, how are you going to do it? How will you get into those circles? They don't just let you in. I said, well, God will take care of that.
Amen.
And he's taking care of it, just like I said he would. You know, now we're doing meetings in LA, and movie producers and movie editors and site directors and writers and everybody, they're just showing up to the meetings. Actors, they're just showing up to the meetings. And, you know, they might be small meetings. They might be, you know, like this, 20 people that get together. But there are 20 people that influence Hollywood.
Come on.
And so when I'm going into that environment, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for God. When we used to plant churches, we planted 38 churches in the United States. And when you go into a new area to plant a church, what you find is called the person of peace. You find a person in the community that's called the person of peace, and you build your circle of influence around them. And then once that person gets you connected with other people, you just start, and the circle gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's how you do it. It's no different in Hollywood. I found my person of peace, and now the circle's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so now we're working on a new documentary, actually. It's called Hollywood. Remember, I don't know if you guys remember, my whole mission has been Hollywood to Hollywood. And so now what's happening is we're literally doing a documentary called Hollywood, and where we're interviewing people that are Christians that are in the entertainment business. They're in Hollywood, and we're saying, God, what do you want? What do you want to do with Hollywood? And we're asking these people, what is God saying? What is God doing? What do you think God's doing? Is it okay to be in these movies? Is it okay for people to watch these movies? What is God doing, and what is He saying? And we're really picking up some steam moving forward with this. Who were we talking about? Like Kathy Lee Gifford. You guys probably know who Kathy Lee is.
Yeah.
Who else are we talking about?
Katy Perry.
Katy Perry. Everybody knows who Katy Perry is. Some people might. Justin Bieber, Kanye West, Stephen Baldwin, Kirk Cameron, Candace Cameron. Well, I have a meeting that's going to happen with some very big movie companies. If come to find out, one of them, the owner, I mean, I'm talking big, like the biggest you get. He's a Christian. Now, I can't quite understand how somebody who's a sold-out Christian can produce some of the things they do, but I don't claim to understand everything.
That's right.
And I'm trying not to judge. I'm trying to let God, because maybe God's waiting for somebody like me or somebody like you to walk in with His conviction on them to say, hey, look, we need to make some changes. That's all right, I fall down too. just blame it on me, I fell down. Cameron's falling. So anyway, that's really exciting, don't you think? And so the 25th, which is next week, the movie completely should be ready to distribute. We're waiting on some final changes to be made with audio and some little things. It's never done, by the way. My gosh, if I had another year, I'd be tweaking that movie and doing all kinds of different things to it because I'm a perfectionist. Is anybody here a perfectionist? Like, I was worried when I was a musician. You'll appreciate this. When I was a musician, the song was never done Because I'd be like, no, I just don't like the sound of that. My bands hated me when I got to the studio. And that's why we ended up building our own studio eventually, is because I would take up so much time in the studio because I was like, no, it's just not done. I gotta tweak this sound, and I want to bring in a choir here, and I want to, this would be a great place for a guitar solo, and I'm the same way with the movie. But there has to be a done date. It's 25th of next week, and the movie gets shipped out to people. Is that crazy?
Awesome.
Can't believe we're here. Now, what we've been doing over the last month, or is it only been a month? It's only been a month. We've been doing small premieres, like in the church, And what we've come to find out, and this is what I thought would happen, but I wasn't sure, is this movie has been a great salvation tool.
Yes.
And really, that's what this whole thing is about anyway.
Yeah.
So we did a movie about raising the dead, but what is raising the dead? Really, we're all raising the dead. We were all raised from the dead. We were alive in this world, but when we died to this world, and now we're alive with Him.
That's right.
Salvation, I think, is the best raising the dead that we can do.
Amen.
And, one of the things in the movie is it really took that turn where it became less about physically raising the dead and more about raising the body of Christ up. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a lot of people that are sitting in pews that need to be raised up.
Amen.
Amen. There's a lot of people behind the pulpit that really need to die to who they are
Amen.
and be raised up with Christ. And we're seeing that. There's a shaking that's happening, and God's really shaking, and He's really doing something. But I think this is the most exciting time to be alive.
Amen.
There's a lot of people that are really bummed out about what's happening in social media with the church and different things, and not only the prophetic streams and all these kind of things, but even Benny Hinn, with the prosperity thing, people got all wrapped up in that one side or the other. And I say, why don't we just focus on the Word of God? Why don't we just focus on Jesus? If you weren't so in love with money, you wouldn't be offended by it.
That's true.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it is what it is. Because if we're truly being obedient to God, we don't need to convince somebody to sew $100 or $1,000 seed.
That's right.
And I think Benny's right on with it. Even though I believe in prosperity. I believe in prosperity. I was a Rhema graduate. I mean, I don't know anybody that was more prosperity driven than that group of people, the Copelands, the Hagins, all these guys. But I walked away 15 years ago because I saw it being perverted. And you know what Papa Hagen said before he died? He said, this is not what God showed me. Because prosperity never was about having the biggest and the best of everything. It was about being blessed so you can be a blessing. One of the things people don't know is Papa Hagen, he had a lot of stuff. But he gave away almost everything he ever got. He would get a suit, but he'd give all the other suits away to people that couldn't afford it. He'd get a new airplane. Yeah, he absolutely would. But you know what? He wouldn't sell the airplane. He would give it away. The other airplanes, he would give them away. And so I'm not anti-airplane. I'm not anti-tour bus. I'm not anti-anything. I'm just anti being greedy.
Come on.
Do you need 50 airplanes? Probably not.
Come on.
I don't have one. And I would be lying if I told you I wouldn't like to have one. If you travel as much as I do, you'd want to have one too. We're actually driving a beat up Hyundai out there. I mean, we don't know whether it gets you from one place to the other. So I'd be lying if I told you I didn't want it. But it's okay because you use the best you have right now.
That's right.
If you're looking at, I know some people that are like, they won't preach to a room like this because they say, no, I'm a megachurch preacher. Well, God will never use you for that if you can't preach in here. And let me tell you something.
That's right, brother.
God told me a long time ago that I go to where He sends me.
That's right.
And so that means that today I'll be here, tomorrow I'll be at a mega. I mean, I do it all the time. If He's not a respecter of person, why should I be a respecter of crowd?
Hallelujah.
It just doesn't make any sense. So, anyway.
Good work.
I haven't even gotten there yet. That was a solid bonus.
Is that a warm-up?
That's one of his rabbits.
That was a rabbit trail. So I'm on to this, which by the way, man, I think it is, seriously, the harvest is where we need to be back to. And not some weird perverted thing where people are they're talking about the harvest, but what they're really talking about is just getting a bunch of money in, hiding behind something like that, because what a lot of people do is they plan crusades in other countries and they raise millions and millions of dollars for this stuff for something that costs them $3,000 to put on, in Africa. And the only reason they're doing it is to get money. I'm talking about getting back to the heart of Christ, which is about salvation. And not just salvation. We can't just stop at going out and putting notches on our belt. Salvation is only a starting point. Discipleship is where we have to get to. Amen?
Amen.
And so I was talking about this the other day. When I really kind of got sparked for the kind of, I got the harvest bug in me, the evangelism, the salvation bug, was I used to lead worship at this big church, 7,000 people, big church, and we decided, a bunch of us that said, hey, we want to start a recovery group. People are like, well, what's a recovery group? The people that have life problems, addictions, and just their life is falling apart, whatever that looks like, because how many know there's all kinds of addictions?
Come on, yeah.
There could be, I can tell you right now, most people in America are addicted to their cell phone. I mean, I walk into a restaurant nowadays, and everybody at the table, you're supposed to be visiting with each other, and everybody at the table is on their phone. Me included, I'm guilty. We started doing this thing at one point where it's called the phone stack. If you're going to sit at our table, everybody stacks their phone in the middle, and the first person that reaches for it has to pay for everybody's dinner.
About time.
That'll ensure real quick that nobody reaches for the...
It works.
Yeah. Nobody's going to reach for it. You say, I'll order the most expensive thing. And just be like, don't you dare. No, I won't order the most expensive things because I know some people out of principle just like, I ain't buying it. But anyway, people are addicted to drugs. How many people? A lot of people know that I used to weigh 820 pounds. I lost 550 pounds. This guy looked at me. He was, it was huge. I was addicted to food. I traded my addiction for drugs for food. How many people know that? I mean, you can be addicted to whatever it is.
Yep.
Some are cigarettes, some of this, some of that. It doesn't matter what it is. Addiction is addiction. But I know the chain breaker, right?
Come on.
Amen. So we started this group, and it was 8 people in the basement of the church. And when it's a mega church, the basement's pretty nice. But regardless, we're down here in this basement with 8 people, and we thought, is this even going to happen? Is this going to work? Within 6 months, we had 250, 300 people coming. Within 6 months. I didn't realize how desperate people were just to fit in, just to have people that understood them, just to have people that weren't going to judge them when they come through the door if they came in drunk, if they came in high, if they came in depressed, if they came in suicidal. Let me tell you the last thing somebody depressed wants to hear. Yeah. Well, you shouldn't be depressed. Well, yeah, we know that. Anybody that's ever suffered from depression knows you didn't wake up that morning and say, I think I'm just going to wear a pair of depressed today. Who wants that? Nobody wants to be depressed. Let me tell you something. I have not met one drug addict yet that woke up one day and said, you know what, I think today I'm just going to become a drug addict. Right. That's not what happens. No. And we don't need to judge. You're not going to judge them into the church. You're not going to judge them into being clean. And so we started this group, and man, it exploded. And one night in particular is my favorite night ever in addiction ministry and recovery ministry. Favorite night, hands down. Over, I've been in ministry now for almost 20 years. It's my favorite story to tell, and I know I've never told it here. This guy, he comes up. I'm leading worship. I'm up there. And we had a rock and roll worship band. And when I say rock and roll, I mean we were rock and roll. I mean, like, we put on a show, and we didn't put on a show because we were trying to be showman. We put on a show because we were using it as bait to get people that weren't in the church in. When people don't know it's not supposed to be a show, you can't, they're looking for something that keeps their interest. And I know, I've even kind of spoke against that in some ways now. But back then, I'm telling you, it worked. Jesus told me to catch the fish and he'll clean it. Well, I've never been able to catch fish without bait. You can't just throw the hook into the water. You got to put some bait on there. For us, it was the rock and roll show. I'm talking, our guitar players were standing up on top of the amps and just wailing away. And we had the lights going and everything, and it brought them in. People would be like, man, you gotta come see this place. It's crazy. Nobody ever tell them they were going to church and be like, oh, what's this, man? Where's the beer, you know? And so anyway, I'm up there leading worship, and this guy comes forward. Everybody knew this guy. He was a hopeless drunk, a hopeless addict, a needle junkie. I mean, just that guy. And I watch him come in, and I watch him back there, and then the conviction of God starts to hit him. And he walks the aisle up front. And I met him at the front. And I led him to Jesus. And we loved on him, and he cried. He wept. We hugged him. We loved him. And then he danced. Oh man, the music was going, and he danced, and he just experienced the glory and the power of God. The freedom that comes with that weight that's being lifted off you. How many people have ever felt that weight?
Oh, yeah.
You know, you were depressed, or you were this, you were lonely, it looked like you were at a dead end in your life in some way. And all of a sudden, that weight just, man, I know what that's like. I suffered from chronic depression for years and years and years. I got the goosebumps right now. I'm like, whoa, shit, hey. And he just felt that freedom. It was so beautiful. And I took him home that night, and I got a call the next morning. They found him dead in his house. Yeah, that took a turn for the worse, didn't it? Everybody's like, ooh, that's not the story I expected. But here's the thing, you got to hear the whole thing. So when they found him, he was in his lazy boy, his whatever you call it, lazy boy, recliner. He had a Bible in one hand and a what now book together, and we give him this what now book. So told him where do you go now that you've given your life to Jesus, what's next? And he was going through that night when he got home. And God took him home. Now, that's cool, but listen to this. When they did the autopsy on him, not one trace of drugs or alcohol were in his body.
Wow.
Not one. Not one. That's an impossibility in the natural.
Yes.
That's an impossibility. The toxicology, what's it called? Toxicology? Yeah, whatever that is, one of those words, came back 100% clean. Jesus cleansed him, purified him before taking him home. Now tell me that's not amazing.
Yes.
Now, I'm all into the signs, wonders, and miracles. I love it, man. I love seeing people get up out of wheelchairs, and I love, whatever it is, somebody comes in without a head, and grows back, whatever it is, whatever that looks like. I love it. It's like I've seen 1,000 people, their legs grow out. That's good. But the one miracle I love the best, the most, the thing that rocks me to the core, the thing that will get me excited and going, I mean, I feel like that horse is getting ready to run on it, is salvation.
Yes.
Because here's the thing, if you look at it this way, I don't know, there's two ways to look at it. God could have took him home that night because he knew that his flesh was too weak to not go back. And he wanted to take him while he was good. Or it could have been that his time was up and he was going to go home regardless. And God brought him into that building tonight to give him one more chance. Either one of those are great.
Yep.
Because it shows his love and his mercy for us either way. But what I'm saying is there's a whole world just right outside these doors that are waiting for that experience. And you could be the one that leads him. God could be speaking to you. And some people are like, well, it's just not, salvation or evangelism. It's just not my bag. Well, then the Bible must not be your bag. Because the Word of God tells every one of us to do the work of what? The evangelist. Now, I'm not talking, by the way, street corner preaching, that whole screaming at people through a megaphone, you're going to hell, that doesn't work. I know, I've tried it doesn't work. That's not the heart of Christ.
Yeah.
Being who God made you to be every day,
Come on.
that's what works. Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, this is who I am. I'm the Terry the Mike guy. So, there we go. That's what God has called us to do, is just to be who we are.
Yes.
And we lead people to Jesus just being who God has called us to be, which is what? Sons and daughters.
Amen. That's right.
See, when you're a son and you're a daughter, you're proud to be a son and you're proud to be a daughter. See, when people ask me who I am, I don't lie about who I am. My name's Derrick Gates. That's who I am. Ooh, I heard about you. Yeah, you're right. You probably didn't hear everything either. I've done a lot of bad things in my life, but I'm proud to be a son of God.
Amen.
See, when you're a son, you're proud to be a son.
Amen.
If you just recognize that you are a son and you are a daughter, then your actions and your life will speak for itself, and evangelism becomes so easy because it's not what you think it is. It's just about being you.
Amen.
Our churches have to get back. Man, when's the last time, and some of you probably been in some churches that do, but I can tell you traveling 300 days last year, and almost 300 days the year before that, and that, and that. But so many churches that you don't hear an altar call anymore. I remember a day when you couldn't go to the church without hearing an altar call. It'd be the same 25, 50 people in the church every week for 30 years, and you still have that altar call every day, every Sunday. You know why? Because we used to understand that somebody could have been sitting in that church for 30 years and had never really known Jesus.
That's right.
And now we think, well, we don't want to offend people. You know what offends me? Is the thought that our churches are letting people go to hell.
That's right. Come on.
That's what offends me. So I'm back to doing altar calls. And I don't care if it offends the place I go to. If it offends you, don't have me back. Because I'm not looking to impress man.
Amen.
I'm not trying to please man. I'm here to please God.
Amen.
And I don't know anything that pleases God like offering His kingdom and His salvation and His love and His mercy and His grace to somebody that doesn't know it, doesn't have it. Amen?
Come on.
Amen. So, that still wasn't my message. Just kidding. It really wasn't. But,
Prelude number 2.
intermission time. No. I real quick, I want to hit on this because it's good. And I think it has to do with the story I told about the guy. What's going on here? Okay. And it's like wrapped up around my leg. I thought we were in a serpent handle in church. I was going to have to rebuke it. But Hebrews 6 is an interesting verse, or an interesting passage. And glory. And I'm just going to read verse 5. Who have tasted the goodness of the ages to come. We skip over that verse. First of all, what they're talking about in Hebrews is some people get that and it says because it's talking about maturing to the things. It's like, oh, you used to be about repentance, you used to be about this stuff, but let's get on to something else. And some hyper grace people would say that, see, Paul was saying this stuff's not important. That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is repentance and the holiness and what the gospel is, Jesus Christ, that was killed and crucified and rose again. That is the foundation of our belief system. That will never change.
No.
It doesn't say we do away with it. It says that is our foundation. We shouldn't have to recover it all the time. We shouldn't have to come in and teach this over and over and over. Listen, it's never going to change.
Amen.
People need Jesus. People need repentance.
Right.
People need to understand what holiness is. People need to understand that stuff. That's never going to change. But what about things that are coming, and what about tasting of the ages to come? And that blew my mind. I'm like, listen, the ages to come. What are we talking about here? What does this mean? And I was thinking about this, and we're talking about, can I use your crutch?
Sure. No problem.
Do I need the mic? I speak loud enough, don't I?
Yeah, I can hear you mouth.
Okay, so.
It doesn't record as well.
Doesn't record as well. Oh. That's right. So, I use the crutch, it's psychological stuff. So, what I was thinking about is, so, you guys remember Neil, right? He comes with me sometimes?
Yeah.
So, Neil broke his leg and his arm a while back, chasing a girl on the roller rink. And it was funny, except for the breaking the leg and arm part. And, wow. So, we all seen it coming, too. He got the girl, by the way. He got the girl. He's dating the girl. That's why he's not here. He figured he better get a real job so he can Yeah, I don't know anybody that goes the distance like breaking your limbs for it, but he did it. But anyway, so what happened was he broke when he broke his arm and his leg, we kept saying, well, you know what? I'm not going to pray for it to be healed. I'm going to pray that it never happened. Everybody's looking at me like, what are you talking about? Pray it never happened. I'm like, look, let's just pray that it never happened. We kept praying for that arm. We should pray for the leg too, but we didn't. Pray for the arm, and all that. One day, like a few days later, his arm started turning purple. Like, well, take the cast off. They got the cast on too tight, so he took the cast off. And then about a week and a half later, he went back to the hospital, and they did a second X-ray. The first X-ray clearly showed a break. I mean, it was a back break. A week and a half later, they went back. There was no break. Now, let me tell you something. When you have a broken limb and it heals, you can still see that it was broken. You guys know that, right? You can see the healing marks. You can see where the break was. You can see where the bones fused back together and the regeneration was. There's no break. It was never there. God didn't heal his arm. He reversed time.
Yeah.
And it never happened.
Right.
Yeah, I believe it.
So there's no pain there, because you know when you break a limb, I've had a lot of broken limbs in my life. And my body, that's why my knee just went out. People know I used to be a street fighter, and my knees are all jacked up, and so sometimes I'll be walking and my knee just pops. And see, God knew, that's why I took your crutch so I just fall.
Okay, you can have it.
Just kidding. Maybe. But you feel that when you have that. How many people have broken limbs? Now, do you feel that? Do you still feel it? I mean, I know, well, it didn't rain here very much, but in the Midwest where I'm from, the barometric pressure will change when the storms come in, and all of a sudden my joints and my knuckles and every bone that I've ever had that's been broke, all of a sudden just decides to flare up on me and be mean. And you can feel it. He has no pain, no nothing. It's all gone. It's never there. I thought, wow, well, this is cool. And this is how it got me there. If you can taste of the ages to come, if we can taste of something that hasn't happened yet, there's no time and space to God.
Right.
Right.
There is no time and space to God.
That's right.
Because this is what we think. We think of God looking at a timeline, what we look at, right? Well, this is the beginning, that's the end. That's the way we look at time. We look at it like this, right? You guys ever seen the timeline on anything? It's all like this. That's not what God does. God takes it, flips it around, and he looks at it like this. From the end all the way to the beginning, he looks at it. Straight through the cross, he looks at it. There is no time to him. There is no time to him. So if Jesus lives in us, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So if Jesus lives in us, and he does not function within our time span, which, by the way, we worship a God that doesn't even believe in time. Even though he said pay attention to the times and seasons. Try to get that wrapped around your head. It's because he's telling us to pay attention to what we look at. He knows who we are. He knows we're gonna gauge things. But we worship a God that doesn't even function within our frame of time work.
Right.
And we want to put him on a time schedule.
Yep.
Right? We go to a meeting, or we go to church on a Sunday, and that hour in, we start looking at our watch, saying, well, Golden Corral. Right? Yeah. Don't say that loud, you're going to be jealous. You start looking at your watch, you're like, well, I got that meatloaf on Outback, Texas Roadhouse. Woo! Woo! That's what we do in the Midwest. Well, I tell you what, they got those rolls. So we worship, we start worshiping time instead of worshiping a God that doesn't even believe in time. We put time limits on actual worship itself. See, when we were in Kansas City, when we had the church there going full blown, sometimes our worship services were an hour and a half. And people get like, why do you worship so long? Why don't you want to worship that long? It's like, wait a second, you come to worship God, a God that doesn't even believe in time, but you're going to put a time schedule on how long that exists? Because let me tell you something. Sometimes the people that come in, they need some time. They need some time for that to soak into them and to get rid of some stuff within them. So I can tell you, there's been many times where it's like, we worship for an hour, and about 11:59 into that hour, that's when I finally hit the floor. and feel the presence, I'm like, okay, God, do what you got to do. Right? And we want to put a time schedule in it. I'm not saying you got to count, because then you can become religious about doing, no, we're going to worship for over an hour. Look, sometimes God's done in 30 minutes. Just be sensitive to it. So, what got me to this place is that God does not function within time, so why can't we believe that we can have healing of things that, and like it never happened?
Right.
How many people have some hurts in their heart, like from offenses and different things in their life? Why can't we believe together that it never even happened?
Yeah, come on. That's what I'm doing.
Right?
Yep.
Why can't we, how many people have had some things stolen from them? And you feel like you've been robbed financially. Why can't we just believe that, hey, look, I'm going to believe God to reverse time. And it's never going to happen. We've seen that happen recently. And so that's what we're pressing into. The restoration of all things that have been stolen from you, your health, your wealth, your mental capacities, everything being restored to you.
Yep.
The way God intended it to be. And I say, why not? Amen.
That's right.
Hallelujah. So I know I gave you guys a goulash. You guys have goulash here? And you guys know what goulash is? Like kind of like a thick stew. I gave you a goulash of stuff today. But that's my heart. Hey, so I got some stuff over there. I got some books and some CDs, and we got some anointing oils and stuff over there. People think that we have it rich on the road. We don't. And so basically what happens is our offerings are what pay our bills at home. And we kind of use the sale of like our books and stuff like that to help us with gas money and stuff. And I know my last trip out, somebody said, well, you got all the money in the world. I'm like, you have no idea what this is like. We'll go someplace. There's been times we went to mega churches and walked away with less than $100. And it's the nature of what we're in. So if you guys are interested in some books, this is my life story. There's a parent. How many have read this book? A few people. That parental warning is legit, right? If you read it, that's legit. Yeah. Don't be offended. If you're offended, I already warned you, so don't worry. And Kim, you got anything you want to say? My experience is if you're walking around and thinking about it, you got something on you.
Well, I was just...
and I'll pray for anybody that wants prayer. After Kim's done talking, we'll...
Sit here.
Okay.
But I was just thinking, I heard your testimony. As a matter of fact, I listened to your testimony about producing the movie. I just saw that video this morning. And you guys really, you talked about a lot of the things that you've given up because you literally mortgaged your home. But then I started thinking about this past 6 months or 8 months. You guys have really, I hate to say it, there's been such devastation to your home, your house. There was a tree, I think, that fell on your...
3 different times.
3 different times.
3 storms, 3 trees, and then it finished it off with a flood.
Can you imagine that? They literally lost their entire home, and it was like one devastation after the other. And yet, in the midst of that, you've managed to persevere and actually produce this movie and the what do you call it, the beginning, the show of the premiere and everything else. I said, Lord, I don't know how a man can, and his family can endure that kind of difficulties and hardships and still manage to stay on course. And I really have to hand it to you, brother. I know it's the grace of God, but few people would be able to stay on track with the Lord and His purposes in their life and go through such things.
Amen.
By the way, I don't know. Have any of you heard? Actually, you actually were raised from the dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never heard your testimony.
Yeah, I can give the 20-second version.
Would you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And yeah, it's interesting, absolutely, that we took on probably some major principality things in the past year and a half. And I don't know that anybody is ever ready for the amount of warfare that we saw, but we did see a crazy amount of warfare that manifests upon our lives, and many people here tracked with that and know. But it wasn't until we said yes to Hollywood that it was almost like the enemy was unleashed upon us. And the big thing that Nina and I had just kept saying was that we weren't going to let what the natural looked like dictate what God wanted us to do. And sometimes we had to say that a lot because we were trying to convince ourselves. But just to be honest, because after so much warfare, you just are like, I don't know if I can go one more day.
Yeah.
I mean, the enemy not only attacked our health, he attacked, our house. I mean, literally our house in Kansas City is still sitting there just waiting to be fixed. We can't even live there. It's that bad. And it was a nice home. When we came to California, it was really nice, and it's not nice now. And, yeah, it's unlivable. That's why we're not there. And because we had mortgaged everything and put it into the movie, we couldn't even afford to fix it. The insurance, after the first tree fell on the house, it wiped out our insurance. We used all the money from the insurance, and that's how deductibles work. So they're just like, they couldn't believe 2 more trees fell on our house in a flood all in 1 year. I'm like, okay. And but we just kept saying, okay, finances dried up. I mean, it was, we were going from meeting to meeting and barely could afford to get to the next meeting. But the reality was that we couldn't film the movie with me working a full-time job. It's just impossible. So it's either you had to be obedient to what God told you to do and just believe that it was going to be okay in the end. I mean, it was really a stress. It was really hard. And as many of you know, I travel with my wife, and the reason I do is because I saw a lot of people, ministers, that go out on the road without their families, and they end up cheating on their wife. Or their wives end up cheating on them, or it's usually the man cheats on the wife or whatever.
Yep.
And it's because it's lonely. And the enemy is on that. Let me tell you, man, the enemy's on that. And, if I'm traveling 300 days a year, the next 300 days I wouldn't see my wife and my son. And so I just say, God, if you're going to do this, I'm traveling with my family, and you're just going to have to make a way. And so financially it was hard. But we just said yes to God and just kept moving forward, and we're here. We're almost to the end. We're almost to the end. The movie comes out next week, but we're only able to release it here in the United States because we have to get it rated to release it internationally.
Which is a lot.
It's a lot. We have to come. Well, we thought it was a really big number. We thought it was over 20 grand, and now we found out that it's down to 8. But we have to raise 8,000 to get it rated to release it internationally, and also to have it. In order for a distribution company to carry it, it has to be rated. And so right now, anything that we do with it is just going to have to be us that does it. And that's a big job in itself. But, so the story with me being raised from the dead was, how many people know I was a drug dealer? Most people do. And I was really bad. I mean, I lived the worst life that you could ever live. I mean, it was really, really bad. And, really, basically, you watch any of those drug movies, any of that kind of stuff, and my life was that bad or worse. That's how bad it was, I was a guy that, just to be honest, shot a lot of people. I've been in many gunfights. I've been shot. I've been stabbed. My wife at night still has to lay in bed a lot of times and rub my hands because my hands hurt so bad because I've shattered every bone in my hands on people. That's how bad the fights were that we were in. I've been stabbed. I got scarred. My wife said there was a song by this group called Stone Sour when we first got together back 15 plus years ago. And it was called Made of Scars. And she said, that's you. She'd rub her hand down my back and it's just nothing but scars from shotgun blasts and knife marks. And my head is all dented in from being hit in the head with, crowbars and batons from police. And just that horrible stuff. And after years of it, I just got to a place I was reckless and I didn't want to be alive anymore. I was doing, $1,000, $2,000, sometimes $3,000 a day in meth and coke. Anything I get my hands on. Cocaine, man, you can do a whole lot of cocaine, and it's very expensive. And I was working for the cartel. I lived across the border in Mexico, and we ran weapons and drugs and women. I trafficked women. I did the work, literally the most vile, disgusting things you could ever do. I did. My wife, she jokes about it now. I think it's a coping mechanism to joke about it, but, I slept with so many women, it's unbelievable. Just the most vile things you could ever do. And let me tell you something, here's what will blow most people's minds. I got clean when I was 18 years old and went to Christian college. And then they said they didn't want my kind there because of my history. And I left and I went back to the world. So I went to ministry school and left and became one of the worst drug addicts and drug dealers you'd ever seen. It's so bad. There's a matter of fact, I'm meeting with Paramount in 2 weeks. They want to do a movie about the book. And some of you know I've been talking this for at least a year and a half. But the thing is either they write it they make the movie how it happened, or they're not going to make it. Right. They're not going to water it down, and they're not going to water Jesus down. Yeah. They have to stick to the story. I get it. They can't put the whole thing into a movie. It's impossible. But they're not going to take the aspect of my faith out of this movie. And so I was doing stuff like I got to the end where I just didn't want to live. And I was so reckless. I was kicking in doors on myself with a machine gun in one hand, and I thought it was my phone. It's very well possible it could be my phone anytime.
I don't know.
But anyway, kicking in doors with a